The first time I realized my heartbeat could betray me was the moment Bevis Sanders walked into my quiet world and tore it open without even trying. I had spent years learning how to disappear, but fate has a strange way of dragging even the quietest person into the light when the story refuses to move forward without them. Bevis was that story. He had always been the star of the school, the one whose presence drew eyes the way gravity pulls the tide. He was bright, confident, and full of a reckless kind of energy that made the world feel alive around him. Teachers adored him, classmates orbited him, and rumors about his charm grew more dramatic with each passing month. Girls whispered about him in hallways. Boys tried to imitate the way he talked, walked, or laughed. I watched from the shadows because that was where I existed best. My name is Crispin Hale, and before Bevis noticed me, I was invisible by design. Silence was my safe place, my armor, my choice. I never wanted to stand out. I never wanted to be dragged into the noisy, chaotic current of other people's expectations. I preferred my books, my tucked-away corners, my predictability. But even the quiet ones have turning points. It started on a late September afternoon, the air sharp with the coming fall. I had been sitting on the back steps behind the gym, finishing a sketch of the school courtyard for my portfolio. Drawing helped me breathe. It gave shape to the things I never dared speak aloud. I was so absorbed I didn't hear footsteps until a shadow fell across my page. You would think that someone like Bevis would announce his arrival with a burst of sound, but he didn't. He simply looked down at what I was drawing and said one word with a kind of gentle awe that didn't match his reputation. Wow. I nearly dropped my pencil. He laughed softly, as if my shock amused him rather than pushing him away. That was the first thing I learned about Bevis. He wasn't the stereotype people made him out to be. He wasn't shallow or self-centered or oblivious. He noticed things. He cared about things. Sometimes I think he cared too much. Is that the courtyard? He asked, pointing at the drawing. I nodded, swallowing the sudden knot in my throat. It looks better here, he said, and he meant it. I didn't know then how important that moment would be, how many times I would replay the warmth of his voice, the sincerity in his eyes. I didn't know how much space he would eventually take up in my life. But I did know that something had shifted, because people like Bevis didn't talk to people like me, not unless they wanted something or were trying to make a joke. Bevis didn't want anything. He just stayed. He sat beside me on the step, close enough that the heat of his shoulder seeped into my skin like a secret I wasn't supposed to feel. I focused on my sketch, trying to pretend I wasn't terrified. His presence was like holding a flame too near paper. Why are you hiding out here? He asked eventually. I'm not hiding, I whispered. He gave me a look that said he knew a lie when he heard one. I didn't like that. I didn't like being seen. But I also didn't want him to go. Turns out, the universe has a strange sense of humor. The next day, Bevis found me again. And the day after that. And the day after that. He didn't barge into my life. He sort of slipped in quietly, like he was opening a door to check if the room was safe before entering. And somehow it felt safe. He made it safe. He told me about his soccer practices, his teachers, his father who pushed him too hard, his mother who worried too much, the pressure of expectations that came from being the golden boy everyone admired. I had never imagined someone like him could feel heavy, but he did, and he told me. You listen better than anyone, he said one afternoon. I don't know why it's so easy to talk to you. Maybe because I never said anything back. Maybe because silence felt gentler than the noise he lived in. Maybe because he saw something in my stillness that I had never seen in myself. We became an unlikely pair. He was light. I was shadow. He pulled the world toward him. I tried to stay out of its way. Somehow we fit in a way I can't fully explain. But of course, nothing stays simple forever. People started to notice. That was the beginning of the unraveling. Why are you hanging out with him, Bevis? His friends asked. He's weird. Crispin, you mean the quiet kid? Someone snorted. Dude barely talks. Bevis didn't flinch. He never flinched. But there was tension in his jaw when he answered. Maybe you should try listening instead of talking for once. That made things worse. High school has a way of punishing anyone who strays from the script. And Bevis breaking the script for me was enough to make me feel exposed in ways I wasn't ready for. One afternoon after class, he grabbed my wrist before I could escape into the art room. Crispin, wait. He looked at me with frustration and hurt in his eyes. Hurt I didn't want to be responsible for. Why are you avoiding me? I'm not. You are. Did I do something? No. Then why won't you even look at me? His voice cracked on the last word, and something inside me cracked with it. This wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to care. I wasn't supposed to matter. But I did. Bevis, I whispered, and the sound of his name in my mouth felt like stepping off a cliff. People are talking. So let them talk all they want. I don't care. I do. He froze. That was the moment everything shattered open. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I swear the world held its breath. Are you scared of being seen with me? He asked quietly. Yes. No. Both. I wanted to tell him everything, but fear pressed against my throat like a hand. Bevis stepped closer, and his voice softened in a way that made my chest ache. Crispin, I'm not going anywhere. Not unless you tell me to. I wish he hadn't said that. I wish he had made it easier to walk away, because the truth was terrifying. The truth was that Bevis made the world brighter in a way that hurt. The truth was that I wasn't just scared of being seen with him. I was scared of what I felt when I was. He must have sensed the war inside me because he didn't push. He just let his hand fall slowly from my wrist, leaving a ghost of warmth on my skin. "'Kay," he whispered. "If you need space, I get it." He started to turn away, and panic rose in my throat like wildfire. "Bevis, wait." He stopped. "I don't want space," I said. "Not from you." His breath caught. It was the first time I realized that the golden boy of the school had his own moments of fear, and that I could cause them. "Then don't push me away," he said softly. The truth was raw between us, too raw. But fate has a way of dragging two people together when the story demands it, and ours was just beginning. From that moment on, something changed. There was a new kind of tension between us, something unspoken but alive. A spark neither of us knew how to name yet. We were young, scared, and stumbling into feelings we had no map for. But even without a map, some paths pull you forward anyway. And fate was far from finished with us. The next weeks passed in a blur of glances, half smiles, and moments that lingered too long to be accidents. If silence had once been my shield, it became something else entirely around Bevis. It became the place where everything unsaid lived between us. People whispered, but he didn't care. I cared too much. I noticed the small things first. The way he always seemed to find me between classes. The way he leaned in when he talked, as if he needed me to hear not just his words but his heartbeat. The way he lit up when I arrived in a room, even if he tried to hide it. But what terrified me most was the way I changed around him. How my voice steadied. How my eyes lifted. How the world didn't feel suffocating anymore. One Friday afternoon, he dragged me to the soccer field after practice. The sun was setting, casting this gold haze over everything, making the world feel softer than it had any right to be. He tossed me a bottle of water and collapsed onto the grass beside me. "You ever watch a sunset from here?" he asked. I shook my head. He stretched out, hands behind his head, and looked up at the sky like he was trying to memorize it. "You should. It makes everything feel less loud." That was the thing about Bevis. People assumed he loved attention. But he didn't. Not really. He loved connection. He loved meaning. He loved the things that made him feel grounded. And sometimes I worried he saw those things in me. I lay back beside him. The air was cool, sweet with the smell of grass. He glanced at me out of the corner of his eye. Crispin. Yeah. Do you ever feel like people want so much from you that you forget what you want? I turned my head toward him. His face looked even younger in the fading light. Softer. Honest in a way I wasn't used to. All the time, I said. He smiled faintly. So do I. We lay in silence for a long time, watching the sky shift from gold to violet. He didn't move away from me. I didn't move away from him. The closeness wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet. It was steady. It was real. When the stadium lights flicked on, he finally spoke again. I meant what I said before, you know. About what? Not going anywhere. My breath caught. I didn't reply. I couldn't reply. Because the truth was I was falling. And I didn't know how to stop it. That night I barely slept. I replayed everything Bevis had said, every look he'd given me, every moment that felt like more than friendship. But wanting something didn't mean you deserved it. And the closer I got to him, the more the fear grew, the fear of wanting too much, of ruining everything. On Monday, things shifted again. Bevis cornered me by the lockers before homeroom. His hair was messy, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his eyes bright with some unspoken excitement. Come with me, he said. Where? Just come. He grabbed my hand. Not my wrist. My hand. For a heartbeat, the world blurred. Then he let go as quickly as he grabbed me, but the damage was done. My pulse was loud in my ears as I followed him through the hallway, past the students pretending not to stare. He led me to the upstairs music room. No one used it in the mornings. It was quiet, dusty, the kind of place secrets went to breathe. Once inside, he shut the door gently and turned to face me. I want to ask you something. My throat tightened. About what? He hesitated. Bevis Sanders, star athlete, king of confidence, actually hesitated. About us. My pulse stumbled. I looked away. Bevis stepped closer, not enough to corner me, but enough to make escape feel less like an option and more like a heartbreak. I know you get scared. I know you hate attention. I know people talk, but I need you to look at me right now. I forced myself to meet his eyes. What are we? He asked. He wasn't joking. He wasn't teasing. He wasn't playing around. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. The truth clogged my chest. Bevis sighed softly, running a hand through his hair. I'm not asking you to label anything. I'm not asking for some huge confession. I feel something. When I'm around you, with you, and I need to know if I'm imagining it. He stepped closer, his voice low, steady. Do you feel it too? I did. God, I did. But fear wrapped around me like wire. What if you regret it? I whispered. What if people find out and treat you differently? What if I'm not enough? What if this ruins everything for you? His expression softened. Crispin, you think I care about any of that? I don't want to hurt you. You won't. I shook my head. You don't know that. He reached out very slowly, like he was approaching something fragile, like he was giving me all the time in the world to pull away. I wish you could see what I see when I look at you, he murmured. Maybe then you'd stop being so afraid. My breath trembled. His hand hovered near mine but didn't touch it. I can't push you, he said quietly. I won't, but I need you to be honest with me. The room felt too small. The air too thin. The truth too heavy not to speak. I feel it, I whispered. Bevis froze. I feel everything you feel, maybe more, but it terrifies me. Something broke open in his expression. Relief, warmth, something deeper. But he didn't move. He didn't rush. He let the words settle in the air like they deserved space. "'Kay," he breathed. "'Kay." For the first time, I saw fear flicker across his face too. Maybe I wasn't the only one stepping into the unknown. The moment ended when the bell rang, tearing us back to reality. Bevis swallowed hard and stepped away. "We can talk later," he said. "I'm not going to make you late." But he hesitated at the door. "I'm glad you told me." And then he was gone. My entire world tilted. For the rest of the day, I moved through the halls in a daze. Every time I passed Bevis, he looked at me in this quiet, steady way, like he was reminding me without words that nothing had changed, or maybe everything had. But fate wasn't done testing us. The whispers grew louder. People watched more closely. And some of them didn't like what they thought they saw. 3 days later, I found graffiti on my locker. "Quiet freak. Bevis pet." My stomach dropped. Heat rushed to my face. Someone laughed behind me. I froze, staring at the words like they were carved into my skin. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to run. I wanted the ground to swallow me and take the humiliation with it. "Crispin." I turned. Bevis stood there, his jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. "Who did this?" he demanded. I shook my head quickly. "Don't. Please. Just drop it." He stepped forward. "No. I'm not letting them do this to you." "Bevis, stop. It's fine." "It's not fine." He reached up and wiped at the marker with the sleeve of his jacket, anger burning behind his eyes. When it didn't come off, he took out a pen and scribbled over the graffiti until the words disappeared. Then he turned to me, breath shaking. "Does this scare you?" he asked softly. "Does this make you want to push me away again?" I swallowed. I expected the fear to rise, to swallow me whole. But it didn't. A little, I admitted, but not the way it used to. His expression softened instantly. "I'm still here, Crispin." "I know." He reached out, then paused. His hand hovered near my shoulder. "Is this okay?" I nodded. His hand rested gently against me, warm and grounding. That tiny moment, his hand on my shoulder in the middle of a crowded hallway, felt like a quiet rebellion against everything that tried to keep us apart. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about him, about the way he looked at me like I mattered, about the way he didn't get scared away by my fear, about the way he kept choosing me even when it made his life harder. I wanted to be brave, just once. For him. For us. The next afternoon, I found him alone in the gym, shooting hoops by himself. He glanced over his shoulder when he heard me, and his expression softened instantly. "Hey. Hey." He walked toward me, bouncing the ball lightly. "What's up?" I took a breath. My chest felt tight with nerves, but I pushed through. "I don't want to run anymore." He froze. The basketball rolled away, forgotten. "What?" I stepped closer. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. "I can't promise I won't be scared. I can't promise I'll always know what I'm doing. I can't promise things will be easy. But I want this. I want you, even if I don't know what happens next." Something in him broke open. He looked at me like I had given him something he'd been waiting for without knowing he needed it. "Crispin." He stepped forward until we stood close enough to feel each other's breath. "I've wanted to hear you say that for so long." I swallowed hard. "So what do we do now?" He smiled, slow and bright, like sunrise. "We take it one step at a time, together." His hand brushed mine, just barely, but enough to send a shiver up my arm. He didn't grab it. He didn't pull. He just waited. I laced my fingers with his. Bevis exhaled shakily. His thumb brushed the back of my hand in this soft, odd way, like he couldn't believe I was real. We stood there in the quiet gym, hearts loud enough to drown out the world. For the first time, the fear didn't win. And fate, strange, stubborn fate, had finally led us to the same place.